Good morning and welcome to Small Business Matters, where we talk about all things small business. And of course, we all know that small business is the engine that really drives this country. We're also going to talk about the entrepreneurs that make these companies go and grow. This is the last show of the year, so we'll catch you again on the other side of 2024. As always, thank you to Community News for this platform. Today we have somebody, all our guests are interesting, as you know, and this is a business that just a few years ago, I didn't even know existed. So here we have Jeff Diego from 305 Permit Runner. How's it going, Jeff?
It's going great, Carlos.
Excellent, excellent. So, it's interesting because years ago, not too many years ago, I should say, and the only reason I know this is because a friend of mine's sister, it was mentioned, no, she gets permits for people. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even know this business existed. Mm-hmm. So first of all, we'll get to that in a second, but I want to talk about you as a person, because at the end of the day, people do business with people. Uh-huh. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Are you from the area?
From the area, born and raised in Cutler Bay.
Okay.
Back when it was Cutler Ridge.
Okay.
Went to Southwood Middle, went to Coral Reef Senior High. Local guy, 305 till I die.
I like that.
Yeah.
You and Pitbull, right?
Oh, yeah, me and Pitbull, yeah. Yeah, one of my role models,
Okay.
Mr. 305. Now he's Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah. So I went to Coral Reef Senior High,
Okay.
studied legal and public affairs there, learned all about not just national government, but state and local. Right out of high school, I did an internship at a church in Palmetto Bay. I went the ministry route instead of continuing law. I went to seminary.
Okay.
Graduated, became a youth pastor. From there, youth pastors don't really make much money.
I didn't think so.
No, they make like no money.
Okay.
So it's like the guy at McDonald's, and then it's like the youth pastor in terms of like, what we would get paid. So I had to become an entrepreneur. So I started looking for a side hustle. That's when I discovered permit running.
How did you discover it?
Okay, so I didn't know what a permit was.
Okay.
Back in 2014 when I started. My friend's dad started a solar panel company, and I wanted to get that experience of learning how to install solar panels. But it was my friend's dad, so he knew me. And he's like, no, I don't want you on the roof. I want you, you know how to send emails. You know how to send a fax. So you're going to do permits. And he just taught me how to do it. He took me to one building department. And then from there, I just started going to all the ones we had work at and just asked questions and figured it out.
When did you decide, or what was the main motivation of here you are doing it for someone else, mm-hmm. and now what happened that you took that leap?
Yeah, so for the solar company, at first it was part-time. After several years, it became a full-time position just because they grew so much. But I realized that I could knock out a full 40-hour work week of permits in about 10 hours if I was efficient. So I did knock it out in 10 hours, and I had all this extra time. And I realized that if I ran a single air conditioning permit for another company, I could hire someone else to come and help me do all of my solar permits as well as that AC permit. And then I could focus on other things that really interest me. And we just kept getting more and more work, more and more business, hired more and more people. We incorporated in 2019, right before the pandemic. And but even that didn't affect the industry that much because people wanted to, make improvements to their homes.
A lot of home improvement during that time. Home Depot was rocking and rolling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so much. And then out-of-state people coming down. We did a whole home remodel for a doctor out of New York, bought a place in Coral Gables. It was a total interior remodel, demo, and then rebuilding the inside. and help that doctor with that. And yeah.
You mentioned something very interesting, that you figured out how to get 10 hours, within 10 hours, do 40 hours worth of work.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the things you did? Because that is, to me, in business,
Yeah.
at least one of the holy grails is to become more productive. We're always in search of that.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you did to be that productive?
So I would say for any contractors or architects out there, I would say first you need to hire 305 permit runner, and then we'll be efficient for it.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
That was a good one.
Thank you. No, I realized that, so permit apps, the one for unincorporated Miami-Dade County, we could pre-fill out certain things in Adobe PDF so that when we had a new permit, instead of taking 30 minutes to fill out the application, we just had to plug in the address, the folio tax number, job value, and that was it. So we eliminated, we went from 30 minutes to 5 minutes, just stuff like that. So pre-filling out the paperwork, knowing that if you show up to a building department when they open, you're going to be in and out. You're not going to be waiting for 2, 3, 4 hours at a single place. So just getting there early and then having all of our paperwork sorted out, with pre-filled out templates that we had created.
Your background in whatever we want to call it, religion, faith,
Yeah.
your pastoral training, is that something that translated somehow to your business, or are they two separate things?
Yeah, so the translation is that people matter.
Okay.
Any sort of government reviewer or inspector who's giving me a hard time, they're made in the image and likeness of God. Like, they have a soul. Jesus died for that person. And so when I have the temptation to get angry, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. Because sometimes when a permit gets denied, it's not because they're trying to be difficult. It's just, maybe the architect made a mistake. And if the contractor builds their house with that mistake, maybe the house falls down, maybe it burns down. So I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And it helps because in building departments, being nice goes a long way.
I think that's true across the board, really.
Yeah. I had a pastor I worked for down in Princeton Church named Jim Spear. And he always told me it's not just nice to be nice, it's also smart to be nice.
I love that.
So, yeah, I tell my whole team, I've told them that. And then I also tell them, if you're ever talking to an inspector or reviewer and you're getting upset, just tell them you need a break. You'll come out, I got to go step outside for a moment, because you get nowhere by yelling, by being rude to people in building departments, because they're there. One, they're probably not paid enough. And two, they're people. They're human beings. They want to be treated with respect. And so that's a lot of what we do. We try to be nice to them, and just, get to know them, so that when we show up, like when my guy Seth shows up to North Miami Beach, they know him. They say hi, he asks about their kids, stuff like that.
How important is that as far as establishing relationships with not only that side of things, the county you're trying to get or the city you're trying to get a permit, but how do you establish relationships with them and with your clients?
Okay, so with the building departments, you sometimes you just have to have meetings with them. And so it's just asking them, if they have little knickknacks on their desk, you can say, oh, that's a little Burrito statue. Oh, I love Burrito. Oh, have you been to his gallery in Lincoln Road? Stuff like that. Just trying to build connections. Hey, where are you from? Just trying to find anything to connect with them about, and also have them remember you as well. Okay. So give them your business card, let them know your name, and then just try to be a person. Like, we are there to do a job and to get a job done, but we're people. So we have background stories, and any sort of connection helps.
So pastelitos and coffee doesn't work?
So we can't do pastelitos. I think that might be a bribe, but okay. Before COVID, the little colada.
Okay.
The little colada. And so the colada, I've done, keto, low carb diets before, but when they offer you the colada, even though it's got enough sugar, to kill a diabetic, I would still take it out of respect because it's
Right.
because I don't want them to be offended by me not, accepting food from them. So one thing that's helpful is once you build those relationships, I've been hired for certain permits I've never done before. And so if it's like a generator permit, when I first started doing those, I had no idea what went into it. And so I called someone in the city that would have been reviewing our plans. And I said, hey, David, what paperwork do I need? I don't want to submit this 3-4 times. I want to submit this one time. Like, what are you looking for from me, paperwork-wise, engineering-wise, to get this approved? Because I don't want to be waiting for 3-4 weeks. And just knowing that that supervisor and just being able to call them and just ask them, hey, what should I expect? What do we need?
How long does it take? And I know this is a loaded question. This is kind of like asking, what does a car cost?
Yeah.
But how long does a quote unquote typical permit take to approve? And I imagine it depends on the depth and breadth of the job.
Mm-hmm.
You and I share a mutual client, City Roofing.
City Roofing.
A roofing permit, how long does it take usually?
Okay, so it all depends on the city.
Okay.
From West Palm Beach, from Palm Beach County to Key West, there's 100 different building departments.
100?
100 different building departments. All of them have different forms. Most of them have different applications. And different people working in each one. So everyone's different. Roofing permits, like in unincorporated Miami-Dade County, might take about a week.
Is that the fastest?
They're pretty fast. I love unincorporated Miami-Dade County.
Okay.
They have the most amount of reviewers, the most amount of inspectors. They didn't allow online permitting until COVID.
Okay.
But when they rolled it out, there were literally no headaches when they moved to online permitting, which is something really rare. Like when other cities went to online permitting, it was like, it was a nightmare. I literally had nightmares when one city went to online permitting back in 2019. And I had nightmares about my permits taking.
What happened? They just weren't ready for it, or?
They just, when a city moves to online permitting, a mistake that they'll make is they'll say, we only accept online permitting. You can't bring papers, you can't show up to submit anything. And that's problematic because in this city, a lot of architects and engineers, they're viejo.
Yeah.
They're older gentlemen.
Okay.
Oh, they're older gentlemen.
Not just old school. They're old.
They're old guys. They're old guys.
Okay.
They're great. They know what they're doing.
Right.
So I love working with the viejos. I go over, I talk to them, I talk to their wives. They have a landline. They're great. But when certain cities have moved to online permitting and they say, oh, you need a digital sign, you need a digital seal, which that's like computer encryption that these guys don't know anything about. It's been problematic. When certain cities, back in 2019 in particular, no one knew what a digital seal was. But yeah, when Miami-Dade County went to online permitting, no nightmares, no headaches. That shaved off a lot of time that we had to spend on those permits because we can do an upload in 5 minutes. That would take 3 hours of sending someone there.
I imagine there could be some drawbacks because you said, you mentioned how important the relationship was.
Yeah.
I imagine it affects that.
Okay.
Because you're not in their face.
Correct. A little bit. So I'm thankful that before COVID, I was in that building department every day of the week. I'd start my day there. When I bought a house in Kendall, I specifically mapped out how long it would take me to get from my house to that building department in the morning. So I was there constantly. And then those relationships have still continued. And about every other day, I'm talking to someone in unincorporated Miami-Dade County. I've been there 4 times since 2020.
That's it?
Yeah, only 4 times. But
wow.
I'm on their website every day. They set up a system where you can meet with people
virtually?
Virtually, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they also rolled out something recently called on-demand inspections, which is specifically for solar permits and pool permits. Instead of requesting an inspection today and the inspector shows up tomorrow, you request it today. Within half an hour, you're getting a WhatsApp video call from a supervisor at Miami-Dade County, and they do the virtual inspection that way.
That's incredible. So you just walk around with your phone and show them what's going on?
Yeah, and wherever they want you to go. So they'll usually have you start right at the front of the house to show the numbers, and then they already have this, since they back everything up digitally. The inspector just pulls up the plans, the approved plans on the computer. So they're talking to you, they're seeing your video, and then they also see the plans on the other screen. And it's a game changer. I'm telling people that, you know, if they want to do permits, specifically solar permits, unincorporated Miami-Dade County is the shortest turnaround time in South Florida. So others are comparable, but I can submit a permit today, and I can have one a week from now.
That's amazing, because governments, people always take shots at governments, you know, from the local level all the way to the federal level about being super inefficient. Nothing gets done on time. But the fact that they respond within a half hour, that's impressive.
Yeah. Look, unincorporated Miami-Dade County, they're incredible. There's a lot of really good building departments as well. There are some that, there's some cities I wouldn't want to have my kids visit buildings in. But there are a lot of really good cities in South Florida. And permits are... The government is supposed to serve and protect, and part of them protecting is to make sure that bad work gets caught.
Right.
And so, like, for every permit that we do, there's like 5 to 8 different licensed people connected to it. You've got the contractor who's licensed. You've got the architect who's licensed.
Hopefully, anyway.
Oh yeah,
in this city, hopefully.
Oh yeah. No, but and at least there's someone stamping the plans for the architect. And then you've got the reviewers, which are, so like for a solar project, it's going to be seen by a structural reviewer, a roofing reviewer, an electrical reviewer. So that's 3 more people who are licensed by the state of Florida, and then when the project has been installed, an electrical inspector goes out, they're licensed by the state of Florida, and then a structural inspector goes out by the state of Florida. So there's 7 different licensed people, all of them who had to go to school, they had to take tests, they had to pass them, they're all insured to make sure that when you install anything on your house, it's not going to kill you. I have a friend who installed solar on his house in Kentucky, and it burned down.
On his own? He installed it on his own?
Well, he hired someone who was just...
Probably not licensed?
Probably not licensed. And his house burned down in the middle of the night because of the electrical work that they did was very spotty. So when I do home, improvements to my house, we do pull permits because we want to make sure, even though we know these contractors and it always helps to have someone check your work. So it's good to have an inspector from the city go out. You should hire trustworthy contractors, but at the same time, the government, it's great that they send an inspector out to make sure that all the ducks are in a row, things are to code.
Yeah. I know that you deal with permits, but do you deal with anything on the inspection side as well, or no?
In some cases we do.
Okay.
We call that the back end.
Okay.
The back end of permitting. We have some air conditioning contractors where they once we get the permit issued and the work is done, we'll coordinate with the homeowner for when we can call the inspections. So in some cases I'll have a member of my team show up right before the inspector gets there, and then they hand them the permit packet. They go, they inspect the work. I have a guy doing a inspection in Weston, Florida right now. So for a rooftop solar job.
Okay. How popular is solar right now?
It's really popular. The Biden administration, well, Obama had passed a 30% tax rebate. So 30% of what you spend on solar, you get back as a federal tax credit.
Okay.
And then Biden renewed it. And so solar is still really popular. It's been difficult with high interest rates because a lot of people finance their solar system. And so the fact that interest rates are so high, a lot of people are putting it off. So we've seen a slowdown in solar, but since I started permits in 2014, it's been exponential growth in the industry. And now there's battery backup systems like the Tesla Powerwall, the Enphase Ensemble, which are great and cost effective. And it's you now can have a system on your house that FPL can be down for weeks, and you still have electricity 24/7.
That's great. Assuming the hurricane doesn't blow your panels off, you'll be good, right?
Well, yeah, no, and that's one of the things that in South Florida, since Hurricane Andrew, everything in South Florida is harder to build than any place else in the United States. I almost feel bad, like when South Carolina gets hit by a hurricane, I feel bad because their houses are not as strong as ours. Like all new houses need impact windows and doors when they're built in Florida, in South Florida. So
all new homes have to have them.
They have to.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's part of the code now. Older houses don't because they've been grandfathered in, but they need that, or they need shutters when the house is built. They need to be provided. So solar is difficult, way more difficult in Miami-Dade County as well as the Keys than in Orlando. Like we charge about half for the permits we do up in Orlando because you can submit most things in the state of Florida north of Palm Beach County. You can submit plans that are not as detailed.
Okay.
So and I've gotten maybe 2 denials out of the 100 or so I've done in North Florida. And whereas Miami-Dade County, we get denials all the time. It's standard because it's so difficult to build things.
Right.
Out of protection, like,
Sure.
I put solar on my house. I want to make sure that when a Category 5 rolls around, that I still have solar panels when the hurricane's over. So,
got it.
Yeah.
You mentioned, 2014 is when it all started. You didn't incorporate till 2019.
Yeah.
But you've also mentioned you're in, everywhere from now Orlando down to the Keys. How did you grow your organization, and what were some of the challenges in that growth?
Okay, so one of the challenges in the growth was probably my own personal leadership.
Okay.
Learning how to train people, how to delegate. I realized that every time I would go on vacation, it would be a nightmare when I got back because I would have 2 weeks worth of work to do for the 1 week that I took off.
Understand.
So that was very problematic. But I've just been reading a lot of leadership books that are very, very specialized, very practical.
Okay.
Like I don't need to read a leadership book to I can do it, I can get it done.
Right. It's not the motivational thing; it's the practical tips.
I need the technical stuff. And so just been systematizing the whole company so that. AC permits, air conditioning permits are some of the easiest. We came up with 40 steps, the 40 things that we have to do to get an air conditioning permit.
So have you put that on a checklist so everybody can follow?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I have a system, a CRM, so that each step of the permitting process, more tasks appear. So we get an order, 10 tasks right away appear. We submit it to the building, and then when it's time to submit, another 10 tasks. And so on and so forth until the permit is totally closed out.
So that CRM doesn't only track your customers, it also is project oriented as well.
Correct. Well, we use a program called Airtable.
Okay.
It's web-based. It's like Excel spreadsheet, but on steroids.
Right.
And they've got different interfaces we've been playing with. When I went to college, I didn't take any leadership classes.
Right.
I didn't take any construction classes. It's just learning as you go. I have some friends who are successful in business. So just calling them up, hey, can I buy you lunch? Come over, I'll grow you up a steak. Let me ask you some questions so that we can learn that way. So now we're to the point. I feel like we're on the precipice of greatness. Because our systems are in place. I hired some really quality people, very intelligent, very hardworking, and our systems are becoming on point. So
excellent.
Yeah.
What are some of the changes that are coming with permitting, with requirements?
Mm-hmm.
I know there are some coming in roofing.
Yeah.
The whole direct to deck thing.
Yeah.
What else? What else is out there?
Well, yeah. So the building code gets updated January 1st.
Okay.
So it's like the world is ending. Everyone's freaking out now because it's a new building code. Some of the reviewers, it's new to them as well.
Okay.
And whenever someone in the government, like a reviewer or inspector, if they don't understand it, the answer is always no.
Right.
Always no. Because they don't want to approve something that is not to code, and then they can get sued, they can lose their license, their pension, whatever. So that's going to be difficult. I've already told my team, like, we're going to get a lot of denials from January to February.
I guess patience is the key word here.
Yeah, patience is everything. So the building code's updating. That's a change. More and more, what I'm seeing is notarization.
Okay.
Since more and more things are moving to digital, online permitting, the need to have paper documents, we don't need them anymore. So I'm having my whole team get their notarization because we're all notaries.
Okay.
That's the only license you really need to be a permit runner, and not even that, because you show up to a contractor's office, the qualifier signs in front of you, the permit app, you notarize it. But probably online notarization, that's something that a lot of permit runners are going to have to be handling, becoming, because certain cities, I feel like eventually they're going to not allow the wet
stamp.
The wet stamp, yeah.
Okay. What is something or some things that I'd be surprised? Let's say we'll stick to unincorporated Dade.
Okay.
That I need a permit for. So, for example, you mentioned air conditioning. I'll bet a lot of people don't know they need a permit for air conditioning.
Let me tell you something. I don't like lying, but I'm always put in a very difficult position when I'm over at a friend's house and my friend's wife says, "Oh, do we need a permit to close on our garage? Oh, do we need a..." And so I just walk away now. Yeah. I just walk, whatever your husband says.
Don't mess up with the relationship.
Oh yeah, I just can't. So I have a friend. I told him, like, if code enforcement shows up, burn your house down, bro. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna get involved with legalizing everything you have here. But yeah, that's a thing. You need permits for most things. I would say everything electrical you get done in your house, other than maybe like a doorbell,
right?
I would say get a permit, and it's really easy. Like a small electrical permit, unincorporated, Miami-Dade County, it costs $166.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, just pay that. You're not going to need plans to get that type of. If you're installing lights in, floodlights in your front yard, you don't need plans for that. You need a permit. It's going to be $166.63 every time. And then when the work is done, an inspector is going to come out and make sure that whoever you hire
done correctly, right?
Yeah, they're done correctly. And also that it's from someone who's licensed.
Right. So,
yeah, that's important because there's so many people who are handymen, but they, so they're jack of all trades, but master of none.
Yeah.
And when you're you don't want to hire that type of person to do changes to your house that and houses in South Florida are very expensive.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you don't do something that is going to negatively affect your property
value. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Jeff, we're wrapping up here. I want to know two things from you. One is, what makes 305 Permit Runner different? And then I want you to tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Okay. So what makes us different is just we're everywhere. So I have someone in Weston right now. I have someone in Aventura. I have someone in Monroe County.
Okay.
So we go everywhere.
All right.
We've never been given a project in which we say we're not going to go there. So we have a catalog of the 100 different municipalities. We know their website. We know who's in charge. We know the forms that they need, and we will go anywhere. A lot of cities, like there's one of our competitors in Miami Beach. They only do Miami Beach, and that's great. I'm really happy for them. But we will go all over.
Excellent. So how do they get in touch with you?
You guys could check out our website, 305permitrunner.com. And then all of our information's there, our phone number, our social media. 305permitrunner.com.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for being on the show. Really appreciate it, Jeff. Very, very informative. And we will see you next year on Small Business Matters. Until then, we'll see you.